On April 28, 1905, the Breathitt County News of Jackson, Kentucky, reported the testimony of Logan Gose. Gose will testify to the events he witnessed at the farm of Elbert Hargis, and how Hargis told William Britton that he had a job for him to do that afternoon. While Gose did not know what the job was for, he did testify to the events he witnessed prior to the two men leaving the Hargis residence. All aboard the Kentucky-Tennessee Living Time Machine. Please fasten your seatbelts and keep your arms and legs inside of the vehicle at all times. But to get going, we need your help. We still need to fire up that time machine to transport us. Please help us by clicking on the like, subscribe, and bell notification buttons down below. Not only does this fire up the time machine for our flight back in time, but it convinces the YouTube algorithm that we need a bigger vehicle to reach more people who love history as much as you do. Now, back to our story. Logan Gose takes the stand. To begin, we find out what Gose was doing shortly before the shooting of Town Marshal James Cockrill. Quote, Logan Gose, who was employed by Elbert Hargis at the farm at the time of the Cockrill shooting, was called. Said he was at work sunning hay that morning with Bill Britton, Abe McIntosh, and Will Griffey. Saw Elbert Hargis for the first time that day about dinner time. Unquote. So, it seems that if you were a hired hand for the Hargis faction, that you actually worked for them in some capacity. You didn't sit around twirling your pistols in the air to quell boredom. That is how hired assassins are often portrayed in the Saturday morning westerns after all. But here we have actual testimony that this simply was not so. The men worked on the farm or in the store more than they did anything else. As Gose's testimony goes forward, we will see that he did not actively participate in the plot to kill Cox, Cockrill, nor Markham. However, he did witness the events leading up to the murders from the perspective of someone who simply worked for the faction. Events at the dinner table. Now, something that is different about being in the mountains when it comes to mealtime. Dinner is what people from other places would usually call lunchtime. Supper is what people from other places usually call dinner time. This is important to establish, as it goes to the timing of when Gose witnessed the actions of Elbert Hargis and William Britton. Quote, Witness and the other hands went to the house for dinner about 11:30 o'clock, and said he heard Elbert Hargis say to Britton that he had worked for him in town that afternoon. And after dinner, Britton changed his clothes and started out toward town with Elbert Hargis, while witness and other hands went back to the field to work. That night he heard of the shooting of Cockrill. Unquote. I know that this seems like a very strange way to report the time today. However, clocks and watches were considered a luxury everywhere, and not everyone had one. Everyone usually went by the town clock, that is usually on the town clock tower. So, if you see o'clock, then they were reporting by an actual clock, and there was no guessing about it. As we can see, Gose was not invited to participate in the plot to kill Town Marshal James Cockrill. He was, however, a witness that Britton was told that he had work to do in town with Hargis, and he changed his clothes and left. It was not until evening hours that he was informed as to what happened to Cockrill. Cross-examination of Gose. Gose had testified in the William Britton trial. However, when we go back and take a look at the Britton trial, as reported in the newspapers, his testimony has been omitted. This simply could be that his testimony was not deemed as important information concerning William Britton. Quote, Witness was cross-examined by Attorney Hunt. Said he was sure that he had heard Elbert Hargis tell Britton he had worked for him in town that afternoon. This witness was introduced at the Britton trial and told exactly the same story, and was not shaken on cross-examination. Unquote. So, what we can take from this, that even though we could not find Gose's testimony being reported in the newspapers, that evidently there was a court record of him doing so. His testimony must have matched what he said in the first trial, as he could not be shaken from it. There was no deviation in the witness testimony. In next week's video, we will have the compilation of several witness testimonies. The statements will range from eyewitnesses to the shooting to those that were privy to the plot. We also have a banker to testify to the plot to hide Moses Feltner from the Markham trial. Thank you. We at Kentucky Tennessee Living would like to thank you for watching our video series on the Appalachian feuds. Don't forget to hit that like button, as the more likes we receive, the more likely YouTube algorithm is to suggest our videos to other viewers. Also, to receive notice when we upload a new video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell notification button. Be sure to double check that you are still subscribed to our channel, as some of our viewers are reporting that they are no longer subscribed here. We thank you for continuing to support Kentucky Tennessee Living as we are discovering the mysteries in Appalachian history.